This is Personal Injury Court.
Good day, everyone. This is the matter of Richardson versus Black. Mr. Richardson, it's my understanding that you suffered a number of injuries on a group adventure that Mr. Black arranged, and you're asking this court to award you $45,000 for medical expenses in the past, $15,000 for future medical expenses, and $29,000 for lost wages, for a total of $89,000. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And Mr. Black, you believe that had he not been so adventurous, he wouldn't have any injuries, right?
Yes, Your Honor.
He's responsible for his own injuries as you see it.
100%, yes, sir.
All right, well, let's get into the legal sauce. How long have you known Mr. Black?
I've known Mr. Black for probably about a year now. See, I'm a very adventurous, outdoorsy person. I've always been that way. And so I went on social media and I found this group called the Mountain Adventure Squad.
Okay.
And I read the description. They had similar goals to me. They wanted to hike all the peaks in the state, maybe a through hike in the future. Like, these are my goals too. This is a perfect group. So
Okay.
I messaged the leader, Dean Black here, and we talked for a while, and he seemed like a good dude. He is a good dude. And we just got together.
That's why you're suing me.
How did you end up starting this group?
So I've been hiking, the first time I went was with my daddy when I was like 5 years old. So I've been on the mountain, I've been in caves, I've been in rivers, I've been everywhere since I was about 5 years old. And I kind of, here recently, I really wanted to share my passion more with people. So
you live outdoors?
Yes, sir. So I decided to start me like a little group and find some people who kind of enjoying the same thing. And that's my mass group, really enjoy it.
So, Mr. Richardson, what kind of adventures were you looking for? You mentioned hiking.
Hiking, climbing, all sorts of adventures, camping, anything that we could do to get us outside and to get us the thrill of an adventure, really.
So, Mr. Black, this was your adventure. You put this together, right?
That is correct, sir, yes.
Well, what were you all supposed to be doing out there?
I mean, really just having fun, observing nature, enjoying a hike. I don't know about all this danger talk, but yeah, we were out there just having fun, enjoying a hike.
Well, hiking around the mountains and doing things out in nature, there are dangers, right?
There are dangers, yes, sir, but controlled dangers is the way I would put it.
And
so, controlled dangers.
So, Mr. Richardson, what's the thrill for you?
The thrill? Your Honor, I don't know if you've ever been on top of a mountain. Here.
I'm acrophobic, so never.
No roller coasters, anything? Well, when you're that close to something that is as big as a mountain, it's just, you feel so small. It's almost like a pleasurable existentialism. It's just, you're so small and the world's so big, just gives you a visceral rush.
Really connects you with nature.
Connects you with nature.
That's what fishing does for me. I fish out of a ditch if I can. But I understand that connection with nature, but not on mountaintops. So how did your thrill for adventure turn into a nightmare?
Your Honor, we found a new peak that none of us have ever been on. And so we woke up 5 a.m. in the morning, drove 2 hours to this new mountain. We got there, hiked 3 miles up to the top, and when we got to the top, it was gorgeous. You can picture a better hiking day.
That's amazing.
It is unbelievable. You can really see some spectacular stuff.
Now, what are we looking at here? How are we getting this view?
That's pretty much where we were hiking. That's my nifty little drone here. And
Okay, so you took this view from your drone?
Yes, sir.
Do you take your drone on these hikes often?
So recently just acquired this drone.
So when your drone is taking these views, where are you?
I'm down there. So I'm down here with everybody else.
So Mr. Richardson, what went wrong here?
So, Your Honor, if you could see on the screen, there's a tiny little dot in the middle up towards the top. That's where we are standing. And I was standing, we got to the top of the mountain. There's this boulder, probably 10, 15 feet high. And when you're on top of a mountain, you want to get to the very top of the mountain. And so,
because you need an extra 10 feet.
I made sure that this boulder was safe enough to climb. I know what I'm doing. I've rock climbed for years.
Did anybody else climb up there with you?
No, Your Honor.
No.
So you were kind of the guy seeking the summit peak.
Yes,
yes.
yes.
When you're on the top of a mountain, you want to get as high as you can get.
So you climb up on this rock.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then what happened?
And then I was just taking in the breathtaking views, and as Dean said, he always takes pictures, and he had his newfangled drone this time. And so he's flying it around, and I'm standing, arms wide open. I do the regular pose, but I clearly cannot. And so I was standing arms wide open, just taking in the world and trying to get a cool picture. Why wouldn't I? We're on top of a mountain.
Well, this is a special moment.
It is a special moment. That's what I'm trying to say. And then
Could have enjoyed it from the ground where the rest of us were.
why?
You were
Do you
standing
get the
there
same
watching.
view?
You had no
Do you
need-
get the same view down there on the ground with the rest of the
No,
people?
the feeling you get on top of the boulder is way more than you can experience if you're just on the ground. You want to get as high as
So
you
you're
can on 'em.
standing on top of the boulder like
that.
this,
Yes,
right?
Your Honor.
You're taking in all that nature has to give you, and then what happens?
Exactly. Then Dean starts flying his drone closer
wasn't
to
flying
us. I assume to get a better angle of the picture. He's taken pictures before. He knows what he's doing. So I'm
You see
standing
the
there.
drone flying around.
I see the drone flying
Okay.
around, yes. And so I'm standing there, arms wide open, waiting for the picture. And then the drone keeps getting closer and closer. And I'm just thinking, all right, Dean, it's getting a little close. And then it just beelines right towards me, hits me right in the gut. I fell off a boulder on top of a mountain.
So you broke your arm, you jammed your thumb, you messed up your ankle. What else?
And my rotator cuff is torn.
Mr. Black, is that what happened?
That's kind of what happened, but I just want to go ahead and say I was not at all responsible for that incident in that way because I was
Not
so the drone-
responsible. Your drone knocked me over
The drone
off
was
the
in-
boulder.
Matthew, the drone was in home mode. It was in
Mr.
home mode.
Black,
I didn't have the controller in my.
You're controlling this drone, and the drone's flying around. It's in home mode.
Yes, sir.
Does home mode mean that it comes back to you?
Yeah. Well, so it's returning to you, controlled and stationary, like towards your direction, but it's not like out of control, going crazy.
In home
it's
mode,
not
supposed to be
like
going
I'm not
back to
holding
you.
the
Why did
controller
it go
down.
and hit
So,
me?
Mr. Richardson, you're standing on top of the boulder, and this drone slams into you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Then what happens?
When the drone hit me, I don't know if you're familiar with drones, Your Honor, but
not.
it's basically a box with a camera with spinning knives on it.
There's a
And it flew straight towards me,
dramatic
hit me right in the
exaggeration.
gut. Just
It is
It was
not-
a horrible pain, and the force of the drone pushed
Blade.
me backwards off the boulder on top of the mountain.
Now, this drone is recording, right?
Yes, sir.
You've submitted a video. I want to see that video.
I
Let's
was
take
not
a look at
holding
it.
the controller when this happened, though.
Let's take a look at the drone. Didn't you see this thing coming at you?
I saw it coming towards me, but he was flying it before.
Your Honor, he was trying to hug it. It looked like he was trying to give it a hug.
Well, wait a minute.
I was trying to get a
Mr.
full
Black,
picture.
you saw it coming at him. You've got the control.
Exactly. Why didn't
I
he
was
steer
not
around
holding
me?
the controller.
Okay, where are the controls
So the
when this
controller
thing
was
is
sitting
flying?
down. I was just looking around. I had it home
Why
mode
was
to have
the
it.
controller not in your hands? You're flying.
It was on
a
home mode. It's on
dangerous piece of
autopilot.
Mr.
equipment.
Richardson, let me conduct this, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
I got to find out what the bottom of this is.
Rude
okay?
and can't hide.
Yes, Your Honor.
So the controls are on the ground and you're just watching this thing fly around?
Well, so I practiced this. Okay, I've worked on it. I practiced all these modes. I've seen a lot of this stuff.
And
I'm sorry,
so
I'm
when
getting
it
a little
came back
flustered.
this way, this wasn't what you anticipated.
No.
Now-
So it came down a little more uncontrolled than I thought it was, but I did see it coming. And everyone else saw it coming. And everyone else kind of was like, move, move. Hey, it's coming. Matthew, it's coming. And Matthew just, did his thing, his Titanic deal, for no apparent reason. And
As I watched the video, and frankly, I want to look at it again, but I'm trying to figure out, what are you thinking when this thing is coming at you? Let's
Nothing.
look at it. Now, as I watched that video and that drone's coming at you, I wanted to scream, get out of the way, get out of the way.
he did.
Right?
He did.
I love Leonardo DiCaprio's pose in Titanic. It's a beautiful thing. But there were no drones coming at him. And now you end up with a Titanic kind of injury.
Yes, Your Honor.
What happened to your arm?
It snapped. I could hear the snap when I fell off the
You should have
boulder.
moved.
And in addition to that, my left ankle, I can still barely move it. I'm in a brace still. My right thumb is all but broken.
So what's been the worst of your injuries?
The worst of my injury has for sure been my rotator cuff because it has kept me out of work for so long. I live paycheck to paycheck like most people, and not having this $29,000 from the last 5 months has put me in a very bad financial situation.
5 months out would break most families. Mr. Black, this is your tour, your adventure, your drone. Why not your fault?
I've repeatedly stated he should have moved and that I didn't have control of the drone.
So he should have protected you from a bad decision to put the
No, he should have
controls
protected
down?
himself. He should have protected himself.
Why weren't you driving the drone?
I had the controller was sitting on the ground, Matthew.
Smaller, it's equally as
I don't
dangerous.
understand. This is insane.
Do you have a drone license?
Of course I have a drone license. Yes, sir.
Are you able to operate that drone and show me how it works?
Extremely well, and I can show you. That's why I brought this today.
Okay, I want you to do that.
Yeah, okay. Let's go then.
Sheriff Matt, will you get the drone? Sure. So, Mr. Black, tell me how this drone works. Show this for me.
It's pretty simple. I'm going to activate it like this, and then I can lift it up. Get that good levitation.
It's like a giant wasp or something.
It's cool, isn't it? So imagine this thing a couple thousand feet up in the air taking pictures of you while you're on a beautiful hike.
Well, you can fly it now, can't you?
I can fly it, Matt, because I'm holding the controller. You're going to help me win this case, sure enough. Keep talking.
When you have the controls, you control where it goes and how it turns?
Yes, sir.
Will it do this in home mode?
That's the point of home mode. It's like an autopilot thing, more or less. When I practiced on a soccer field, for instance, I hit home mode, it returned to me and landed like a butterfly next to me.
So had you been controlling it on that day the way you did today, would he ever have been struck by your drone? If you had the controls in your hand and did what you did today?
I would say that was a complete malfunction. You can't predict a malfunction.
That's true.
So how would I predict that maybe I would have been controlling it and it would have malfunctioned the same way and nailed my boy?
Well, you don't hold
He
him
could
responsible, right?
He could have moved. That's the main thing that no one's really getting at. Like, he could have moved.
What would have happened if I would have moved?
That does
You
make
would've
sense
moved.
now.
You would've moved. I would have moved. Everybody else would have moved.
I don't know how drones work. If I've moved left, then get hit with the drone, then Dean's gonna be like, oh, why'd you move? I was flying the drone.
Mr. Richardson, do you take any responsibility for your injuries?
I do not take responsibility for his drone hitting me. All the risks that I take when I go adventuring are calculated risks.
So, Mr. Black, you brought a witness with you, Miss Kayla Myers.
Yes, sir, I did.
Miss Myers, would you stand and come to the podium, please? You've been part of this adventure group.
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
Is it true? I mean, do you guys seek out danger as part of your adventures?
Well, we don't seek out danger. Him, on the other hand, he is constantly trying to one-up us. We call him the daredevil.
Just give me a couple examples you remember.
He always has to be the one who's jumping off and doing a flip. Like, we were going on the cliff, and we ended up jumping off of it into the water. He had to do, like, a bunch of flips, like...
This guy's not gonna jump.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, he is.
It's what you get out of it.
Woo! I just don't have those needs,
The
okay?
danger makes the...
So did you do these kind of dangerous things?
Yes, Your Honor, I did do those kind of dangerous things. I know how to safely do those things.
He pushes everything.
We're not the mountain kind of adventure squad. We are the mountain adventure squad. There's no limit on the adventure we do.
It is amazing to me. You make it through diving off of cliffs and a drone takes you out?
Yes, Your Honor.
Miss Myers, what do you remember from this day?
Matt being extra that he has to be on king top of the world. He gets up on the boulder. We clearly see this thing coming at him. We're like, hey, move, move. Dean said, he's like, I don't have control, move. Like,
Move.
I mean, it's pretty easy to dodge. It's a pretty big piece of material.
Miss Myers, you may be seated. You don't believe this was your fault?
No. It obviously was not my fault because I didn't have this in my hand. I sat it on home mode. He knew I had it on home mode, and I told him to move. So if he moves, I'm not here right now.
And Mr. Richardson, you don't believe this was your fault. You believe it was his fault.
No, Your Honor, he should have been piloting the drone. He shouldn't have just let this autopilot pilot the drone back to us when we're on top of a mountain.
Gentlemen, I've heard enough, and I think I'm ready to render my decision. Gentlemen, in every personal injury case, the plaintiff, you, Mr. Richardson, have to prove three things. You've got to prove that Mr. Black was wrong. You got to prove that first, and that his wrong caused your injuries. You are clearly injured. Today, you've put up evidence that he was the one controlling the drone. And Mr. Black, the law charges you with responsibility when you put something like this in the air. The law says it's your drone. The law says it's your controls. The law says it's your responsibility to control this item so that people don't get hurt. You cannot shirk that responsibility simply by putting the controls on the ground. So the law holds you responsible for this. Mr. Richardson, I know you were knocked off this rock, you sustained terrible injuries, you've got medical bills, you've lost wages. I understand why you filed this lawsuit, but the law looks at you too and looks at your behavior. You had an opportunity to avoid this whole thing if you had not been on that rock. And the last opportunity, the law has a concept called last clear chance. And with last clear chance, you have an opportunity to save yourself even when someone does something wrong. Yep. The law evaluates and compares responsibility. I find you both responsible for this. But when you both are responsible 50-50, the law's unforgiving and you lose. I find for Mr. Black, that is my final verdict, and this matter is adjourned. Our attorneys across America just viewed this case for the first time. Let's hear what Chad Dudley has to say.
This case perfectly illustrates why we should read the directions and owner manuals for gadgets, especially ones that fly through the air at high altitudes and speeds. But this case is also a great example of the legal principle assumption of the risk. Even though the plaintiff was asked to move and warned of the danger, he failed to get out of the drone's path. He just stood there and now must accept the consequences for failing to move.